What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Wrestling Heroes and Insiders podcast, aka The Whip Show. You know what's happening. I am Deshaun Whip Dog Whipple, and I am here with my partner.
All right, devastating Daryl Pace in the movie set.
Devastating Daryl Pace. He in the green room. He about to do all types of stuff going on up there, man. He ain't in Detroit no more. He in Hollywood, I guess, man.
I'm with the movers and shakers, man. We trying to make moves here, and so we got the green screen because we're doing a lot of editing here. So a lot of stuff happening on the show, a lot of stuff coming up. So we need this, man.
That's what's up. And it's like we might even have a movie star on the show as well today, because we know this man did some wrestling, but he's doing some acting now as well. From the amazing Samoan lineage, the Samoan Dynasty of professional wrestling, can we give it up to Afa Anoai Jr.? How you doing today, sir?
Man, what's going on, guys? Thanks for having me on the show.
We smooth, man. We smooth, man. So, now you're in Pennsylvania, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, how's it going right now? Are you guys pretty lifted on the stay-at-home order, or y'all still kind of in the early phases?
I mean, we've just turned green like on the 19th, but I mean, it's still proceed with caution. You know, it's not like we could go out. I finally went out to Red Lobster and ate inside for the first time in months. You know what I mean? And but it's pretty weird. You know, it's just weird.
I feel you. I did it myself, and it's definitely different. My place is Olive Garden, and seeing all the masks is just it is what it is, man. Well, first of all, once again, thank you for being on the show, man. And you come from an amazing lineage of pro wrestling. So my first question is, growing up in that, did you always want to be a wrestler, or it was just a family thing and you had to do it, man?
Man, it was when I was a kid, it was like I didn't even really want to wrestle. I was always a three-sport athlete, you know, playing baseball, basketball, football, and I didn't even really want to wrestle, man. It's like my dad did it, my brothers did it, like everybody did it, my uncles, cousins, you know what I mean? Like everybody was doing it. And then it was just like one summer, it was the summer of '98. My dad, he ran a tour in Austria. So he brought the whole family over there, and we had to do the promotion, you know, the promotional tour and stuff like that. So we were there for a good 3-4 weeks. And man, I got to tell you, I was bigger than everybody, and I was like 13 years old. This is the summer going into 8th grade, you know, in between 7th and 8th. And I'm like, Dad, listen, I'm over here for 3 weeks. None of these people speak English. Let me have some fun. You know what I mean? I already know a little something. But, and then my pops was like, you know, son, if you want to do this, you have to train, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, cool. I'll train as soon as I get back. And he was like, well, no, you got to train before you have your match. I was just like, well, how's that going to happen? You know what I mean? And sure enough, my dad called my two brothers up, Samu and my brother, L.A. Smooth, and they were tagging as the head shrinkers at the time. And he called them up to the top of the, we were like, had this penthouse in the top of the hotel. We moved all the furniture out of the way, bruh. And I'll tell you, I went through a 3-day mini boot camp from hell. I had the head shrinkers beeling me across the room, and I learned hard with no ring, with just my brothers kicking my ass, you know, and yeah. So then I had my first match on that tour. First, I had like 3 or 4 matches on that tour, and came back, and the rest is history, man. I've been rocking ever since.
Now dig that, because I'm glad you said that, because we've had other people on the show, and they've been from second generation, and even the fans, they assume just because you're second, third, or you're part of a family lineage, you're automatically going to get the wrestle. Like, you don't have to work hard. You know what I'm saying? People think that about Randy. They think that about all these people. But obviously, like you said, that's not true, man.
No, man, I had to go through it, bro. My pops made me run, you know, just like everybody else. I was sleeping in cars, running to these promoters, you know. But yeah, the road was hard just because I had big shoes to fill. You know, I'm already coming in with a little bit of respect. So it's like these other guys have a little bit of chip on their shoulder, and they all think that, yeah, we got everything handed to us when we actually have to work twice as hard because we're out there representing our family legacy. You know what I mean? So we can't go out there and, you know, shit the bed. You know what I mean? Like, we got to hold it down. We got to represent, you know? So it's tough, you know? It's we got all the eyes on us because everybody's expecting us to be on top of our game at all times.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, man, because growing up and as you turned 13, 14, a teenager, did you really understand how huge your family was in the wrestling world, or because they were your family, you didn't really notice? You know what I'm saying? You know, but you don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, because I grew up watching my father as a head shrinker. You know, when he was doing the whole wild Samoan thing, was a little young, and I don't really remember all that much of that. Like I remember going on the road and meeting all the guys and stuff like that. But as far as this in-ring stuff, I didn't really catch that. You know, I caught the 90s, the early 90s, and you know, into the Attitude Era and stuff like that. So I don't know, man.
But it's crazy, right? So like when you're growing up, and again, it's a different thing when you're actually growing up in the environment. Your family are toys. You know, you can go to the store and buy a cousin. I mean, who are so like? I mean, are you affected by that? I mean, you know, is that just, or is it just like another day?
Well, back then it was just like the toys and all that stuff was just coming out. So when the head shrinkers first got their toys, man, that was a big deal. And then the Yokozuna got his toy. You know, and our family first started getting their toys in those early editions. And that was a big deal because I was a kid at that time. So I had all of them. You know, so of course. But my big thing is I'm a gamer, man. I like the game. So it's like, man, I feel like we always get the shaft in the video games, bro. We should have been in so many, but, you know, it is what it is, I guess.
You feel me, dog? And no disrespect to your cousin. I love Roman, but I ain't got to keep creating y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want more than just Roman,
games, when I was on Raw, I got scanned for the game, and I was supposed to be in the downloadable DLC pack and everything like that, and everything got scrapped last minute. Man, it's crazy.
Seriously.
So close. I got scanned and everything, man. I seen it. It was like they scanned me. You know, they did all their high-tech stuff, and then it was like right there on the computer screen. I could see what I would have looked like in the game and stuff, and that stuff was cool.
Yeah, and I'm glad you touched on that, man, because what's his name? There was Stevie Richards. He one time talked about he was a big gamer growing up, and the first time he even got scanned for a game, it was a huge thing. So even though that you didn't make the game, being scanned, like seriously, what are you feeling at that moment? Like, I'm about to be on a video game. So how are you feeling, man?
Man, I'm marking out. I'm inside marking out. Like, I mean, what else? I'm a big kid. You know, even when I was on the road, you know, in my downtime and stuff like that, if I'm not in the gym training and stuff like that, I'm on the game cooling off, you know, hanging with the other wrestlers that are at home and stuff like that. And we just want to kick back, and we don't really want to go out, and you know what I mean? We just want to lay low. We all on Xbox Live and PlayStation and stuff like that. We on Call of Duty. We all kicking it still, so.
Dig that. Well, going forward, I know you did a lot of independent work with World Extreme Wrestling first, right?
Yeah.
So how did you like working over there, man? Because y'all have some big names coming through there too.
Oh yeah, that's like a who's who. Like everybody who's anybody came through WXW through the years. You know, I mean, Beth Phoenix, Batista. I mean, everybody. Luna Vachon, Gangrel. I could go on and on days. You know, days and days of people that used to come through those doors. But I mean, that was great. You know, it was hometown. You know, it was very close. And they had TV, bro. We had live TV back in, you know, 98, 99, 2000. There was nobody on live TV back then. It was us in the big leagues, and that was it, you know, and that was huge. That was huge. I'm out there working guys like Kid Cash and, you know, TV guys and getting my experience up. Back then, I thought I was good, but I was horrible. You know, it's fun to see the progression of one's career. Because you think, you know, at that time, you're getting all the buzz and everything, you think everything's going good, and then you go back and watch some tapes, and I can't help but shake my head. Like, what was I thinking?
So to set the stage for the folks at home, you're in WXW. How old are you, and about what's your size? So people at home, if they're not sure, because, you know, on TV, it's hard to know how big people are. But what's your height, what's your size, and how old are you at WXW?
Well, when I first started, like I said, I started at 13 overseas. And when I came back, it's like we kind of had to hide it because of the state athletic commissions and stuff like that. So it's like I took almost a year off just to train in the States at that time. So from 13 to 14, I didn't really do that many shows. But then like starting in 99 and stuff like that, I was able to sneak past the state athletic commission and, you know, start wrestling at that time. So, it was cool. I was 14 years old. I'm 6'2", 210 pounds. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a big boy. I didn't look my age at all. There's no way I look like a 14-year-old. And which is why I was able to slide by the state athletic commission a lot. You know, They look at me and just look like a normal teenager. They had no idea I was 14. So, but it was it was good. It was good.
So what's the planning going through your head, right? This is the late 90s. The Monday Night War is still going on. WWE is certainly winning at that point, but still going on. Lots of place to work. At the top of WWE, we got Stone Cold and we got a Samoan guy. So, I mean, what, your family's kind of all over the place. ECW's going on. What are you thinking? Like, where is your mind at, in the late 90s? And, what are you thinking about?
Man, late 90s, I was watching The Rock. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because WXW and Sports Fest 1998, which was like the biggest independent show I've ever seen in my life, still to this day. I mean, people as far as the eye could see had to be 15, 20,000 people, no problem. And The Rock was there, and Mick Foley was there, and Superfly was there, and King Kong Bundy, and all these huge names, and dude, that was the show I think that made me want to wrestle. It was that show, because I was there with my little league. We were undefeated at the time, and we got to go in the ring and celebrate and get the recognition for being undefeated. And just being in there and seeing that crowd, and they didn't even care about the little league, you know what I mean? But it's just like the moment. So it was like pretty much that is what really made me go forward with the wrestling, was just a tiny taste of that rush of that crowd,
Well, I want to touch base on you going into WWE, but before I do that, I was doing a little research, and like you said earlier, you were a 3-sport athlete. Yeah. So has football always been a constant? With a lot of, you play ball, Rock play ball, the Usos play ball, Roman, football, is football always been y'all thing, man?
Man, to be honest with you, I started wrestling before I started playing football. I didn't really start playing football until 10th grade. I started, the 105s or something like that, when I was a kid. And politics, the youth football politics is starting kids up, you know what I mean? So it was I had a girl start over me in youth football, and it killed my confidence. It absolutely, because here I am, I'm like, Dad, what do I do? How do I get more playing time? He's like, well, take your spot. He's like, whoever's in front of you, kick their ass and take their spot. So I'm like, all right, cool. I got a girl in front of me. So I used to go and try to make this girl cry every day at practice. No, malicious, no, you know what I mean? Just trying to take the spot. But it was she would cry and I'd have to run laps. And it killed me. And I didn't like football for that. You know what I mean? And that was starting at an early age. So then I started wrestling at 13. I went through freshman year, you know what I mean? I'm still wrestling. Everybody knows I wrestle. Then the football coach approaches me. He was like, hey, we want you to come out. So then I came out for the team, made varsity, in 10th grade, started. I made all conference, all everything, you know what I mean? And then I started getting scholarships after 1 year playing ball. University of Pittsburgh offered me in 10th grade, Penn State offered me, you know what I mean? I'm starting to get D1 offers. I'm like, man, I wasn't even expecting this.
All right.
So then I really dove into football, man. And I really hooked on to it, and I loved football, and it was the best. And the offers started rolling in. And then I committed to Pittsburgh after I went to a camp there. And at the time it was Walt Harris, I believe, the coach. He brought me into his office, offered me. He had my name on the jersey, everything. So I was like, man, here you go. I'll sign up, but I'm only in 10th grade. So it was I couldn't sign or nothing. So it was just a verbal. So then another year, couple years go by. I'm making all state, all area. I'm front page of Pennsylvania Football News. You know what I mean? I'm getting a lot of publicity in football. Then I get offered U.S. Army All-American Bowl. And I was top 100 recruits in the country. It was high school game on ESPN, Reggie Bush. Everybody was in this game. And I balled out. You know what I mean? And I balled out. Then I ended up accepting a scholarship at the University of Connecticut. I switched at the last minute from Pittsburgh to UConn. UConn was on the rise, and playing time, I could get it there. So I went in there and played as a true freshman, got the most burn out of any true freshman on the team. And that's hard for a lineman. Usually it's the skill positions that get the burn. But, I was in there rocking with these guys, and I blew my knee out actually in the bowl game. Motor City Bowl versus Toledo. We were killing them. I wasn't even supposed to be in the game. I was about to get interviewed on the sideline. You know, I had a little bit of buzz, you know. So I was about to get interviewed. My backup couldn't find his helmet. I said, hold on for the interview, and I ran out onto the field, and then boom, blew my knee out, bro. And that was that, you know. And then I took the next year, rehabbed it, took the medical red shirt, and then WWE called.
Wow.
And then WWE called.
It hurt to me like my man did on Good Times, James' brother-in-law, man.
Man, it was bad. I blew out all the cartilage underneath my kneecap. It's not like I tore anything. It's just I blew all the cartilage out. And like the kneecap, it's floating, so it's like they couldn't even you know, replace the cartilage or anything like that. They just had to take it out. So, man, that sucked. That was bad.
Now after the rehab, was there hope of coming back, or did you kind of know like it's gone as far as football?
My drafts, everything in football, it was draft status. You know what I mean? My draft status, I went from like late first round pick to fourth, fifth, sixth round, and I was just like, man, I got to make a living. You know what I mean? Not that I couldn't make a living being a fifth or sixth round draft pick, but the difference in pay from going that first, second round is crazy. So I decided to go with the WWE, you know.
So you just segued to the WWE. So you get there. Explain to me how it was. Your tryout and actually getting onto the main roster. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, back then, I had a week-long tryout, and it was in Deep South Wrestling. So I had to go down there for a week, and Bill DeMont was the trainer there, and he killed us. He was there. There was a couple guys there. Natty Neidhart was there. Who else? TJ Wilson. Forget his name, Tyson Kidd. You know what I mean? All these guys, they had their tryout at the time. A couple other guys, guy from Canada.
Was that the one with Kenny Omega?
No, he ended up going to Deep South, but it wasn't during this tryout camp. I believe Hannibal was there, a guy from Canada, and some other guy from like Phoenix or something like that. So, man, they killed us. They killed us. They were killing us, man. I was fresh out of D1 football, bro. I was in shape, and they killed us. You know, but
I'm glad you said that because, and not to talk about myself, but back in my day, I wrestled a little bit, and I actually had a tryout one time back when there was a Florida championship, and it was a 3-day. And at that moment, I realized I'm an indie wrestler. I'm not a WWE guy. You know what I'm saying? So could you tell a little bit more like what they were doing? Because I know what they did to me. Could you explain like what they were doing? Because one thing they always talk about, football guys and guys from other sports think they can automatically do this because they lift 500-pound bench press, they squat, whatever. Right. But could you explain a little bit what the tryout is actually like?
Man, it's just constant movement. It's constant movement. There's nonstop movement. It's like, you know, whether you're doing your squats, your push-ups, or, you know, doing your drills, you know, and they have all kinds of drills when you're at these tryouts. They got drills on drills. I forgot all the drills that they made us do. Like, we did so many drills. And it's just a constant movement. There's no break. There's no huddle time. There's no timeouts. It's just when you're not in the ring, you're still moving. You're still doing, you know what I mean? They make sure that you respect that ring and respect those that came before you. And I think that's their whole philosophy as far as why it's so hard is that it's not supposed to be easy. And those that succeed, you know, they had to really put the work in. So, I mean, they just killed us, bro. They killed us. And then at the end of the tryout, they give us a tryout match. Like this whole time they're teaching us how to do simple stuff like headlock takeovers and stuff like that. I was 9-year pro at that time, you know? So I'm sitting here and I'm questioning, I'm like, man, am I doing the headlock takeover right? You know what I mean? I'm like, this is second nature to me. I could do a headlock takeover for days, but you know, just under the pressure and, you know, under all the eyeballs and stuff, you start second guessing yourself a lot. But my tryout match was against Ray Gordy, Terry Bam Bam Gordy's son. And he was signed at the time. He later ended up being Jesse and Festus.
Yep.
But yeah, man, he went out there and he took care of me because everybody's nervous. You know, it's can you get this nervous guy through and have a good match? You know, and I was able to do that, and I was able to know I was getting signed before I left, which is rare because usually you have your tryout and then you have to wait weeks and weeks for them just to say yes or no. You know what I mean? But it was like, I knew you know, at the tryout that they were going to sign me. So it was a blessing from them.
Now, you know, while you're in the tryout, while they're looking at you, is there any plans that you might be hearing about, or anything that they have in motion for you, or they're not telling you anything about that yet?
No, they don't tell you nothing. At that spot, you're just trying to get a spot in Deep South, and you know, and on the Deep South roster at the time, it was guys like MVP, Kofi Kingston, Jack Swagger, Brodus Clay. You know what I mean? It was a lot of big guys. So I'm just trying to fit in with these guys. How do I fit in with, you know, all these seasoned pros? It's easy to stand out in the indies when you're, you know, one or two of the only good guys on the whole card versus, all right, now these are TV guys. All these guys are ready to go. Am I ready? You know, so it's like you're just trying to fit in on that program. As far as going straight up to the roster, anything like that, man, that stuff, that very rarely happens. You know, that kind of thing that's fairy tale stuff. So we know that we just got to put ourselves into these programs. So,
see, listening to you talk about it, I can tell that during that time, you're like, this is me. It's not because I'm, you know, Afa's son. Yeah. I have to work. And I can just tell that by the way you're talking right now. So you move on to Deep South.
Yep.
How long were you there before you moved on to the main roster?
I was in Deep South until they closed down. When they closed down, Johnny Ace and everybody came down and, you know, basically closed the camp. They were like, okay, we're no longer doing business with Deep South. Half of you guys are going to relocate to OVW. The other half are going to go to Tampa, and we're going to start FCW. And so I was like, hell yeah, let's go to Tampa. You know, so then I went down to Tampa, and I was down in Tampa from the start until they built the arena. They had their first TV tapings. I was on, you know what I mean? Like, I went through the whole, you know, the FCW documentary that they showed. I was there from day one, you know, and I ended up becoming, at that time I was tagging with Sonny Siaki as the Samoan Fight Club. And Sonny, that was awesome, man. We had a lot of chances to get called up, but politics and it is what it is. Where other guys' seniority would take our spot. You know what I mean? There's a lot of politics in the game. So we never really had our chance to go up to the main roster, even on house shows or anything to see what we had. But we had something special in the, you know, the developmental territories. So then Sonny ended up leaving the company, and it was just me, you know, and I ended up becoming the FCW champion. The second ever FCW champion, and Harry Smith was the first. I was the second, and yeah, I had a blast down there. You know, that was my show. I ran that place. You know.
Now, how much this family can work against you, just like it works for you, right? Because people might go, oh, well, he's related to this dynasty. If he comes up here, you know, we're going to be fighting for spots now because he's going to get, you know, special treatment, right? I mean, how much have you seen some of that where actually your family, your lineage works against you, but people kind of like, I don't want this guy coming in here, you know, stealing my spot?
That didn't really happen. Yeah, that didn't really happen until I got up to the main roster. You know what I mean? Because it was like, I've been in the game for a while, so everybody know I was, you know, I had more experience than all the, you know, the developmental guys. So when, you know, the older guys used to come in, they used to always kind of kick it with me, you know, because I guess I remind them a lot of my pops, or they had stories with my pops, you know what I mean? So I was always around the old timers. But it was like, I didn't really get into all that like negativity and stuff like that until I hit the main roster. And then, you know, when you get up to the main roster, they're booking your tickets and stuff like that. And we have to pay for our cars and hotels and stuff like that. But, you know, they're booking our flights. So when we would connect in a city or whatever, and everybody would link up and all the boys would be on one flight, you know, sometimes I would get first class. And then when those first class tickets came, and it was just like, oh, here we go. The Samoan's in first class already. He's been on the road for 3 weeks. I already got first class. And I'm like, bro, I didn't book my ticket. You know what I mean? Like, what do you want to do? You want to sit here? It's like, what's the difference? You know, but that's when that stuff really started happening, is when I got to the main roster, when they started, you know, pulling my, oh, he thinks he's a vet card. And I was like, bro, I'm just trying to fit in. trying to make money too.
So let's talk about that. You know, you're in FCW, you know, you're working out, things are going good. You know, how do you start hearing about, you know, that move up? You know, is it, you know, I don't know if it's through Johnny Ace or whoever you're working with. How do you hear about it? And then what do you start hearing about the plans for you integrating the main roster?
Man, well, first, they called us up. It was me and Ted DiBiase Jr. Like, there was rumors going on, you know, that the call-ups were coming and stuff like that. There was rumors. But at the time, we had to write our own storylines to insert ourselves in the WWE TV. It's not like we're just a roster. You know what I mean? We play wrestler. We play trainer. We play writer. You know what I mean? We're creative. We're doing everything that we can to get creative's attention. So I came up with this idea about the Legacy. Didn't call it the Legacy. It was completely, but I wrote the whole second generation uprising, and that's what got their attention. And they liked it. And then it's funny because I was just a normal day. I was at training, and I got the call that I'm going to debut at Unforgiven at the pay-per-view. And this was like on a Thursday, like it was like right before the pay-per-view. So it was just like I didn't have no time to get ready or nervous. You know what I mean? And at this time, DiBiase was already called up because we got called up one time before for a house show, but I only ended up working twice. I worked the Y2J Save Us return night when he came back and re-debuted as Jericho, you know, Y2J. And that was in Fort Lauderdale. And that place was packed. And that was back on Sunday Night Heat. Wrestled Hacksaw Jim Duggan. You know what I mean? And then the next night we ended up doing a house show. It was me and DiBiase. We rode together. At this time, this was pre-Legacy, pre-anything. So we were just, you know, I guess they're just seeing us how we are in the ring. So, you know, we're driving, we're planning the perfect match when we get there because in our minds, we're working each other. We get to the arena. They're like, okay, Afa, Teddy, you guys are on third. All right, cool. So our match is ready. We're, you know, we practice together, we train together. We're about to steal the show. This is in our minds. And then Dean Malenko calls us, hey, guys, come here. He goes, change of plans. Teddy, you're working Charlie Haas. He's in the ring right now cutting his promo. And Afa, you're working Super Crazy. I was like, all right, cool. So Teddy's guy's already in the ring. He don't even have time to call a match or nothing.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Then they call Super Crazy over. Super Crazy's working me like he don't speak English. I'm like, oh, man. So we're going to do this? Okay. I can speak wrestling, you know, that's an international language. So we're out there, and now I'm still calling, you know, I'm calling my spots or whatever. And then I call a backdrop for Super Crazy. Now all of a sudden he speaks English. No backdrop, no backdrop, no backdrop. So I give him the biggest backdrop ever. We go through the match, everything's cool, but Teddy tweaked his knee in the match, so they ended up sending us home, and we didn't even get to finish the loop. So it's like, man, you get a taste, and then they pull it from you, and then weeks go by, and then I finally get the call that we're debuting at the pay-per-view, and I was shopping at Burlington Coat Factory for some business casual clothes to wear the TV tapings and stuff like that, and it was creative, and they spit the whole thing. They're like, yeah, you're going to debut, you're going to come out during DiBiase's match, and Cody and blah, 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 you know what I mean? And they're like, we'll see you soon. So boom, next thing I know, I'm on the plane and I'm flying to Cleveland for Unforgiven, you know, and I got all my gear on and everything. I'm nervous, bro, nervous. So then we get all the pre-tapes and everything like that, and then we find out we're costing CM Punk his title the first night in. This is my debut, man, you know, and it's just crazy, bro. And it happened like that so fast. I'm in FCW wondering, and the next thing I know, I'm on main roster, Monday Night Raw, and on everything, every house show, every world tour, you know what I mean, everything. So it was good.
And what about your character? Like, you know, again, because you're going to the main show, because sometimes, like, whatever you were doing before, they could totally reboot you, they can do whatever. What did they tell you who you, I mean, obviously part of this legacy of this uprising group, but who did they tell you, or who did you help determine who you were? Like, what was your character?
I didn't have no say of who I was. You know, all they knew that I made the cut because I wrote the gimmick, and that was it, basically, I think. But it was just like, I debuted, I had an afro, I had a beard, you know what I mean? Like, that's the look that got me to the dance, and I figured that's the look that they wanted. So I debuted. I had a whole different look than I had the very next night on Monday Night Raw. They made me slick everything back, look more of that priceless look, trying to look more sophisticated than Wild. They were, I wanted to talk because I didn't want to be the nose-picking crazy savage. So it's kind of like that barrier. Like, okay, we still have Umaga who doesn't talk, and now we have me who I'm already compared to Umaga. You know what I mean? Like, he was on SmackDown, I'm on Raw. I talk and wear boots. He does. You know what I mean? So it was like I was kind of in that weird position where I want to say kind of like a barrier breaker, but I mean everybody else has been talking ever since. So I don't know.
Dig that. So now you're Legacy. You're with Ted. You with Randy and all that stuff. So I gotta ask you, man, how was that? Because at that time, Legacy was really hot. I'm gonna be honest. I was a huge Legacy mark, man. Walk me through you becoming Legacy and what they did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The point I'm gonna tell you, as a fan, I was hurt, dog, because I liked you in it. You know what I'm saying? But see, my type of guy, you got to drink too for the show.
Hey, man, gotta,
But tell me that. So how was it actually working the Legacy? Because like I said, like you just said, y'all cost Punk the title. So you were in a prime spot. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, we jumped right in with Punk, and then from Punk we went on to Batista, and then Cena. You know what I mean? And we had all the main event players at the time. The only real other main event player besides us was JBL and Shawn Michaels at the time, but they were married together. They were doing their whole angle together, which was good, And but we had a lot of eyes, like a lot of haters. I want to say, like, man, I didn't have to work nothing. It was like my first Raw match was against Batista, like my first singles match. You know what I mean? And the funny thing about that night is that first singles match was in Atlanta, which was in the Deep South territory. It was when I first signed, and I'm wrestling Batista, who's a Wild Samoan Trading Center graduate. You know what I mean? And here's Batista. It's the Raw before Survivor Series, and Batista wanted to put me over, and he even called me over to Vince, and was just like, "We should put him over." And then Vince was just like, "What? What are you talking about? No, that's crazy." And Dave, and I'll never forget it, man. Dave was just like, him beating me will do a lot more for his career than me beating him. And like, you know what I mean? It wasn't a knock on me, but it was like he was trying to bring me up and make my stock worth the spot that I was given, And had it been any other Raw, Vince would have put me over, but it was the Raw before Survivor Series, and Batista was the captain, But Batista went out there and sold his ass off for me, man. And it was a really good match, So it was just like, man, my whole career has been pretty storybook as far as weird coincidences that have happened, like storybook endings. You know what I mean? Like this whole thing has been pretty much like a novel.
Well, obviously you enjoyed your time up there, man. But this ain't one of them shoot interviews where we get you to say bad things about people. You ain't got to do that. So we ain't that. But you did talk about haters, man. So was it because you guys were second generation? Is it the same thing that I heard happen with the Nexus and all that stuff and the Shield? Because you guys were so hot coming out the gates, people just hate.
Well, you got a lot of guys on the mid card. They're holding on for their jobs. So it's like every new guy that comes up, and we were coming up, they were doing a lot of come-ups. They were bringing up Ziggler, Swagger, and all these guys were getting the come-ups via different avenues. Some were going up in the ECW route. Some were coming up on, you know what I mean? So it was like every time some of us would come up, some of them would go out. So it's like these guys are used to traveling forever, and it's that weird time where it was just like we knew that a bunch of us were going to be the next stars, is me, Kofi, Sheamus, all these guys that are coming up, and these older guys, you know what I mean? It was time, but they didn't, it's hard to let go. So it's just like, of course, no one's going to like the new guys. It's like, especially if you've been there for a while and you're waiting for a main event push or a main event match and it never comes. And then here's the new guys and they're already there. It's just like, these guys get bitter. Yes, they're at the show. Yes, they're making a living, but it's just like they still get bitter. So it's that's comes with the territory, I guess. You know, people are always going to hate the people that are on top. Not that we were on top by any means, but, you know, we had a real good spot.
You know, and that's one of the things that, you know, about the business. If you think about it, at the time that you guys were there, this whole second generation, there's a ton of second generation guys. We got like T.J. Wilson, you know, trained by the Hearts. We got Davey Boy Smith Jr. You got, you know, you talking about 99. We got all these second generation people that they could have put into this huge group.
It was supposed to be, originally the way it was written, it was supposed to be like a whole second coming of the NWO, but just second generation guys. We were supposed to, the whole Nexus thing or whatever they did, they tore down the ring. That was all part of the uprising, where we were the ones who were saying, we own this ring, and this is our ring, and no one's going to touch it, blah, blah, blah. And we were the ones who were supposed to take down the ring. But they broke down our long, because we wrote 6 months, 7 months worth of angles, and they broke it, and they picked and chose what they wanted to use out of it. And then they ended up breaking it up and giving this to that group and this to this group. You know what I mean? It was just like, I feel like if we would have done it all, man, we might still be going around to right now, you know. But originally it wasn't supposed to be for the main event guys. It was supposed to be for the guys who were tired of the mid card, guys like Carlito, Cody, DiBiase. You know what I mean? The Primo, Colon. You know what I mean? It was supposed to be for guys like that. It was never intended to be for someone like a Randy Orton. You know what I mean? Who already was established. This was for us to kind of come up and be like, you know, screw you guys. We're going to do it this way. It was kind of that, supposed to be intended to be that angle, but everything changes.
Tell us a little bit about creative in that point, because we always hear that there's this open door policy that you can go talk to Vince at any point and go, hey, Vince, you know what, this angle is not going right. Right. Is that true? And, you know, who's how is that creative, you know, who's controlling creative at this point in time?
Well, they told us, they were like, all right, we're gonna put you in with Randy, right? Now, as a young guy, we're like, hell yeah, let's go with Orton. You know what I mean? He's already established. We're already gonna be over. But at the same time, it was just like we didn't really have to earn it like everybody else, I guess. You know, so that's where the hate came from. Man, I don't know.
I get it. Well, did you enjoy your time there? Because I know a lot of guys, they work forever to get there, and then they like the actual performance, but the travel. They don't like all the travel. They don't like the politics. Did you actually enjoy it there?
I love it. I was made to wrestle. You know, I've been traveling this whole time, you know, and I loved every second I was on the road. Now that I'm older, you know, I wish I would go in at you know, around my age now versus 21 years old. You know, I'm more mature. I'm about that business now, but you know, you live and you learn. But yeah, I enjoyed every bit of it. I still have friends from them, you know, from there that I still talk to this day. It's a brotherhood, you know. It's a bond that we share and road stories, and I loved every second of it.
And I didn't realize, what were you 35 or 36?
35.
And I didn't realize you were so young when you got there, man. That's amazing. Yeah. So I gotta ask you that then. Being such a young guy, going into being in front of the world, after the show, the bars and stuff, did y'all have a lot of good times, a lot of fun, man, after the shows?
I had a lot of fun on the road. Had a lot of fun. See, it's hard to have a lot of fun though on a Monday night at a bar. But on those international tours and stuff like that, yeah, man, those was a lot of fun.
Oh, to your boy, man. Well, I'm gonna ask you another question. It's gonna be a little off. Like, I know the answer, but I want our listeners to know. A lot of times, y'all family says this: "What up, Oos?" Yeah. I know what it means, but explain to people when y'all say Oos, what is that, man?
Oos is like, "What up, bro?" You know, it's like. Yeah, that's what up, bro. Like, what up, Oos? Like, you know.
Literally, because we had another of the lineage, Toa Maya V, on the show, and it was just funny because me and him talk all the time, and he was saying it, and he was like, man, people still ask me, what does Oos mean? But they try to act like they know, but they don't know. Yeah,
they don't really know, you know. It's funny hearing girls say it, like, hey, what up, Oos? Well, it's kind of, we did that to ourselves. You know, we be using it all around the world. It was only a matter of time before it caught on.
For sure, man. So you're still working right now. Now let people know where can they catch you now wrestling? Because I know you're still doing stuff.
Yeah, man, I'm out there grinding. Right now I'm the Unify Wrestling Entertainment, Unify US Wrestling out in Hawaii. I'm the Polynesian Legacy Heavyweight Champion, which is an awesome honor. That belt has been retired. It's an old NWA belt from back in the day, the South Pacific Heavyweight Championship from the NWA. And those are guys like Don Morocco, you know what I mean, and CB Afi and all those guys. And those are the guys who had that belt. And they retired that belt in, I believe, like 86. Somewhere around, don't quote me on that, but I believe I'm ballpark. It was late 80s, you know what I mean? And yeah, they brought the title back on my last tour out there, and I ended up winning the belt, and I still have it, and I'm very proud of that. Being right now the only recognized Polynesian champion in the world. I mean, there's other Polynesians that hold titles, but not one that represents the Polynesian people, you know, so that's a big deal.
Nice.
But yeah, that, and, you know, my overseas tours and stuff like that, I'm always traveling. I'm always out there, you know. I wrestle more out of state in other countries than I do in Pennsylvania. You know, it's just the way the wind blows sometimes.
That's what's up, man. Well, I want to touch on this too. I was talking to somebody, so you're acting now as well. You're in a new project. Let me know a little bit about that project, man.
Yeah, I did a couple acting gigs. I was, you know, trying to stay busy, you know, and I did an MTV gig. I was on a series called One Bad Choice, where it's like to show these young kids, these teenagers and stuff like that, where it only takes one bad choice to ruin your life. You know what I mean? Like on some true story, like reenactment type thing. And I started there with my acting. And then from there, I ended up getting casted in 100 Acres of Hell with Gene Snitsky. And I did I was the lead stuntman in that for the main character, Jeb Tucker, who was played by my brother, Hedrinka Semu. So it was like me and him tag team that role. So, you know, it was just like, man, that was awesome though. It was awesome to be in there and to be there, you know, for my brother and to be there for Gene Snitsky, you know, and man, this acting thing is crazy. It's a lot of fun. And then, you know, we're out there filming for weeks and, you know, years go by and we still haven't heard nothing. Now all of a sudden, movies in the theaters and it's on Amazon, it's on everything, you know what I mean? And man, it's just like, man, this is so crazy. And then everybody's watching the movie. They're like, yeah, that movie was cool. They're like, I thought you were in it. I was just like, bro, I was the killer. What you talking about?
Oh, man, no, I'm glad you touched on that, man, because that's one thing that people don't realize. It's such a difference because wrestling, you got a live audience, that live reaction.
Oh, yeah.
You're performing for the camera directly. Obviously, when you guys do Raw and everything, performing for the camera, but there's still live audience. Was that a big shift? Was it hard for you to handle that change?
Big shift for me. I'm used to knocking it out of the park in one take. One take, let's go. You give me the stick on, you know what I mean, on a promo or whatever, live on Raw, whatever, one take, let's go. We have to do it over and over again. You lose emotion, you lose feeling, it becomes repetitive, you know what I mean? Like it just takes a lot out of you. So it was like, that was the learning curve for me where I had to do it and then do it again with just as much emotion and just as much energy and again. And now we have to do it for sound. And now we have to do it for sky cam and tree cam and fire cam. And we're doing all these bumps over and over and over. At least when we have adrenaline when it's live, you know? Not that you don't have adrenaline in the movies, but it's like your adrenaline wears off after 4 takes, 5 takes. And you're on take 12 and it's 3 o'clock in the morning and we're freezing in the middle of the woods and we're still taking bumps off of cars. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, yeah, I can see why that, you know, this is why actors get paid so much. It's because it's hard work. It's not as easy as everybody thinks.
This is true. Well, you're not getting out here without my partner asking you his special question that he asks every episode.
Oh man, I got a ton of stuff, but so you know, one of the questions I always ask is like the mark out moment. You know, when you're in the locker room and you're sitting next to somebody, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Now, I know it may be a little different, because it probably even as a kid, there's people coming by in your life that's like, so what was a big mark out moment for you where somebody either as a kid or when you're, working that you go, oh my God, I can't believe I'm sitting here next to X guy.
All right, check it out. So it's like my third birthday, third or fourth birthday. I was young, but I definitely remember it. Hulk Hogan came to my birthday party. So we're just kicking it at the house, having a barbecue, pig roast, whole nine. Next thing I know, Hulk Hogan's ringing on the doorbell. And I was such a fan. At that time, Hulk Hogan is everybody's favorite, but he wasn't mine. So I was kind of upset that, and I went to my dad upset, and I was kind of no-selling Hulk Hogan. Here I am, a little kid, no-selling Hulk Hogan, who's on top of the world at the time. And I'm mad that Macho Man wasn't at my party.
Oh, man.
But yeah, that's a true story, man. That's a true story. I remember going across the street to my grandmother's house pouting because Hogan was there and Macho Man wasn't.
Oh, did you ever get to meet Mach?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
you got to meet Mach. Cool.
Yeah, I ended up meeting them all, but, it was like, I was the Macho King at my party,
Well, I'm actually glad you talked about Hogan because there's a story, and I want to know if it's real or not. So, Hogan wrote in his book that when he initially got signed, he's going to New York, and he got Afa and Sika in the car.
Yeah.
Hogan hears about New York, so he has a gun on his hip. The police pull him over. So Hogan's trying to explain to the police that he's a wrestler going to WWF at the time. He goes back and tells Afa and Sika, they go in character, they ain't breaking kayfabe.
They don't speak English.
They're scared to death that he's going to get locked up. Finally, the police, they make a call to Vince. Vince says, yes, he is. They let him go. Hogan asks Afa and Sika why they didn't speak, and he said, I didn't want to get in trouble with Vince, man, or something to that degree. Is that a true story, man? That's
100% accurate because there's been stories like that where he's been with just me in the car. We get pulled over. He goes into character and don't speak English. And this is just a little kid, you know what I mean? I'm a little 6, 7-year-old. We're driving a ring truck or something, and we'll get pulled over. And the next thing you know, his 8x10's on the dashboard, and he don't speak English. Like that, where'd you get that picture from so fast? Next thing I know, there's a picture of him on the dashboard, and he don't speak English. And sure enough, it's a wrestling fan cop that comes up, and we get off, And yeah, cops always work the gimmick for life.
I've been waiting for years to verify that, man. Thank you for that, man.
Yeah,
I don't even got to. Daryl, you talk to him. I ain't got nothing else. That's what I need to know, man.
Well, you know what? I'll ask this because the dynasty started because the wild Samoans, right? They're wild. How does the family feel about that? As time is going on, the whole wild Samoan thing, is that just hey, we accept it, was part of what it was, open the doors. How do we feel about it now?
I mean, it's kind of us. We're all wild, like we're the first ones. If there's a get together or something and you pop and live, we're the first ones to go over there and handle that. We are wild, especially when you put us all when we all get together. Then things get really crazy. So it's like, yeah, the family. I mean, how do we not pay respects to them? They started it all. Like without them, there wouldn't be how many of us? There's what, 16, 17, 18 of us now, active. And it's like, yeah, it's an honor. It's an absolute honor to be in the Samoan Dynasty. It's an absolute honor to be named Afa Jr., and to be 35 years old and 22 years experience, man, it's an honor. All this it's a blessing. And, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I wouldn't want to be a part of any other family. I wouldn't want to be a first generation guy. Man, I'm happy. I'm very happy. And I'm very honored to be part of this family.
That's what's up, man.
With that, I was going to add a follow. With that, we talked about the first generation, second generation. Now, what about that third generation? Now, who's coming up that we need to be looking out for to say, hey, when Roman and Usos, or when they're gone, watch out for these guys?
Man, Lance, my nephew Lance Anoai's Samu's son, he's on deck. Jacob Fatu, he's on deck. Sefa Fatu, they're on deck. We got a lot of guys coming. you know, and they're very good. They're very good, man. You think, you know, guys like me and, you know, Samu and Umaga and stuff like that, these kids are hybrids of everything, you know. Now you're gonna start to see the Samoans doing moonsaults and the Samoans doing 450s, and, you know, and that next generation of Samoan is very, man, I can't wait. I can't wait for the world to see it, because, you know, these kids are hungry, and they just have to be a little patient and wait for their turn, you know, but they're ready. They're ready.
Daryl, that was a good question. That really was a good question. I got to tell you, Daryl, man, I like that.
I get one every call.
And Sean Maluta too. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with Sean Maluta, but he's next on deck too. You know, if I would put Sefa, Sean, Lance, and Jacob, and I put them in against anybody in the world right now.
So y'all heard that right here. The dynasty is not over. They going into 2020. They going into 2030. It ain't over.
Oh, and they young. So
y'all got many years. Don't worry. They're gonna take care of it.
Wrestling's gonna be around. We'll be here. We'll be right here.
But I do want to ask you that, man, since we're talking about the current era, seeing the success of Roman, and the Usos, man, how does that make you feel, man?
Man, proud, man. I grew up with these guys, you know. We're all the same age. We all grew up together. You know, it was just like I started. This is where we missed the boat. Is I started wrestling first, and I started wrestling a little. I don't want to say too early because I had a chance, but if I would have started a little bit later, I'd be right in there with these guys. You know, but it was just like I got sent to, you know, to the Sharks, you know, by myself. You know, but it was just like, man, these guys, they took the ball and they're running with it, man. It's like, how do you not be proud of them? How do you, you know, these guys have been doing it now 10+ years. You know, it's not, they're not in and out, you know, they've been there. So yeah, these guys, they're the future, you know, and the next kids on deck, they got big shoes to fill, because Roman Reigns then elevated the name a little bit. Usos then elevated the name a little bit, you know what I mean? So yeah, you thought you had big shoes before.
I gotta ask you this here, man. We talked about the Hogan rumor. There's also been a rumor at that WrestleMania where Roman lost to Brock and then Seth came out.
Yeah.
Y'all wasn't really happy about Roman losing to Brock. Is that a true story that they was like, hey, what's happening, Vince? What's up, baby?
Well, you know, I can't say firsthand because I wasn't there, but from what I understand, it was finna go down.
I heard.
You know,
y'all get some more exclusive right here on the Whip Show, man.
Yeah, from what I understand, you know, in Samoa we go chee-hoo, and when you hear that, you know, you better start putting the kids away. So I think we were one chee-hoo away from a big scene back then. But yeah.
Oh, man. I love it. Daryl, you got anything for us? We ain't gonna hold this man up too much longer. Go ahead.
You know what's amazing to me? I mean, you think about the wrestling families, you know, the Von Erichs, the Harts. I mean, even with the Harts, I think was a great wrestling family, but that third generation, we don't see it happen, right? I mean, but when we talk about this, you know, the Samoans, like the Anoai family, we've got so many, you know, great wrestlers, and now we see it's coming and coming. My WWE 2K19, it's got the Wild Samoans in there. I got DLC. You on there. You're on 2K19. I can go download you, man. It's just, I'm proud to have you here as my guest, and I just know it has to be extraordinarily proud to see your whole family. I mean, Yokozuna, who got me as a kid, because I thought the man was from Japan, so he got me, right?
Oh yeah.
But your whole family, I mean, achieving so much, and then it's the opportunities for so much more to happen. You just have to be so proud.
Very. I mean, it's like I said, it's an honor to be, you know, just to be associated with these guys, you know, and to be related, and, you know, to know that I could pick up the phone right now and call Roman and he answers, you know, or I could get, you know, pick up the phone and call the Usos and they answer. You know what I mean? Like, man, that's what it's about. It's family. You know, at the end of the day, we're family. You know, wrestling can come and go, you know, but at the end of the day, we're still family. So we got to look out for each other.
I'm going to end my last question. I thought of a good one. We talk about Haku. It comes up all the time as the baddest man in wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Who is the baddest man in the Samoan Dynasty? Who is the Samoan Dynasty Haku? And maybe it is Haku, as a cousin or something. But who is the Haku of the Samoan Dynasty?
The Haku of the Samoan Dynasty? Well, it depends on what you're looking at. If you're looking at all time,
all time, the toughest man. Who you're not going to fight?
It has to be with either my dad or Uncle Sika. It has to be, and if it's not them, then it's me, because you ain't gonna mess with me. I'm the warlord of the Samoan Dynasty, and I wear that badge with honor, and it's, but yeah, it gotta be Pops. It gotta be my Pops and Uncle Sika, because all the stories that I've heard about them, yeah, it gotta be them.
That's what's up, man. You know what? Listen, this has been a great show. Thank you for coming on, man. We try to stay serious and not work out, but look, we was waiting for this one. I'm gonna be honest for you, man.
Oh, right on, guys. I had a blast. It was good.
But before we close out, we got a segment. It's called Ring the Bell. You got 60 seconds to say whatever you want. You can just talk your shit. You can inspire. You can tell people what to look forward to. Whatever you want to do. So right now, Afa Anoai Jr., you got 60 seconds. Ring the bell.
And guys, I just wanted to say thank you for having me on the show. It's been an absolute blast. Usually I kind of clam up on these things, but today I felt very comfortable with you guys. And I just want to say to the wrestling fans out there, thank you for all your loving and support throughout the years, for me, my whole family, for, my father, my grandfather, my cousins, my nephews, my cousins, everybody. We all appreciate your support. And I just want you guys to know to stay patient during this traumatic time in the world right now, and be patient, and we'll get through this all together. And when we do, we'll be right back in that ring where we belong, baby.
That's what's up, Oos. Now, by the way, when I close off the show, don't leave, because I want to talk to you for a second. But we gonna get on out of here. Y'all know what it is. We done had another great show, Daryl.
Great show. Hey, before we wrap up, does he have websites? Does he have Twitter? Anything he wants to, shout out there?
Man, of course, I got Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everything. Just look me up, Samoan Storm. Pretty easy, SAMOAN, Samoan Storm.
I heard that right there. Well, guys, like I said, another great show on the Wrestling Heroes and Insiders podcast. You know what to do. You can listen to us each and every Friday on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, wherever podcast platforms you listen to. Just put in the Whip Show Podcast. Also, we're on YouTube, The Whip Show Podcast, and on Instagram at The Whip Show Podcast. And if you want to be a sponsor, because you see we have the best wrestling heroes in the world on this show, hit us up, thewhipshowpodcast@gmail.com. But with that being said, I am Deshaun Whip Dog Whipple.
The devastating Daryl Pace.
And we have Afa Anoai Jr. And we will see you next time on the Wrestling Heroes and Insiders podcast, a.k.a. The Whip Show. Take care, y'all.